Colleagues, I'm Natasha Ajaokuta, Senator representing Kogi Central. I greatly appreciate your standing, giving me the opportunity to speak today on a matter of extremely urgent national interest. On my way to work today, I stumbled upon a protest, one of many across the country. People are not happy. They're expressing their dissatisfaction with the level of hardship.
Can you please go straight to your motion as a practice, as a tradition to the Senate?
Alleged incidences of corruption and inefficiency at the Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited and the National Iron Ore Mining Company located in Kogi State. The Senate notes that the Ajaokuta Steel Company and the National Iron Ore Mining Company, hereinafter called NIAMCO, located in Kogi State, were established sometimes in the late 70s by the federal government with the potential to put Nigeria on the path of technological and industrial advancement and establish the country as one of the leading exporters of steel products in the world. The Senate notes also that decades after their establishment, the Ajaokuta Steel Mill and NIAMCO have remained inoperative and unable to produce steel despite seeming efforts by several administrations due to lack of earnest political will and bureaucratic corruption. The Senate recalls that as at the year 1994, when Tiajuprom Export, hereinafter called the TPE, exited the Ajaokuta Steel Plant on alleged grounds that Nigeria did not discharge fully its financial obligation to the TPE, the Ajaokuta Steel Plant was reportedly at 98% completion and yet remains inoperative till date. The Senate recalls that sometime in the year 2001, Nigeria's hope to have the Ajaokuta Steel Plant completed and put into operation was rekindled following the signing of the bilateral agreement between Nigeria and the Russia Federation, which was unfortunately diminished following the surreptitious concessioning of NIAMCO and Ajaokuta Steel Company in June 2003 to unqualified Solgas Energy Limited, a company that lacked both financial and technical expertise as it were uncovered never to be in the business of ore and steel. The Senate is aware that contrary to the recommendations of the House Committee on Steel in the year 2004, that Solgas Energy Limited should partner with TPE, which has the financial and technical expertise to complete and operate the Ajaokuta Steel Complex and NIAMCO complexes. Solgas Energy Limited instead opted for partnership with another inept company, the Global Steel Infrastructure Nigeria Limited of India, also known as the Global Steel Holdings Limited. Now, the Global Steel Company was alleged to completely run down not only Ajaokuta Steel Company and NIAMCO, but also the Delta Steel Company. The Senate observes that upon consideration of the Inuwa Magaji Administrative Panel of Inquiry report into the global steel operations of Ajaokuta Steel Company, NIAMCO, and Delta Steel Mills, the Federal Executive Council, under the leadership of late President Umaru Yar'Adua, unanimously terminated the concession agreement on the 2nd day of April 2008, citing breach of agreement and all wholesome practices, including the fact that the said concession agreement was unpatriotically skewed in favor of the Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. The Senate further observes that the House of Representatives had in the past investigated the iron and steel sector in Nigeria with far-reaching resolutions aimed at resuscitating the steel complexes and NIAMCO, but such resolutions were neither ignored or are yet to be implemented by the federal government. The Senate is disturbed that the Global Steel Holding Limited, Pramod Mittal, is notorious for dubious and questionable business activities with governments of many steel-producing countries, from the $253 million organized economic crimes in India to embezzlement and steel stripping in Bulgaria, the Philippines, Libya, Bosnia, Zimbabwe, Montenegro, Serbia, and many more. The Senate is concerned that while Bosnia arrested and charged the Global Steel Holding Limited's Pramod Mittal with organized crime, and Bulgaria jailed Global Steel Holding Limited management staff for economic crimes, Nigeria may have yet again fallen victim to the Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited Pramod's sharp contract fraud in respect of the payout of $496 million in the year 2022. This comes years after a comical reconcession of Niamco to the same Global Infrastructure Nigeria Limited in August 2016. These activities, sadly, facilitated by unpatriotic Nigerians occupying trusted government offices. The Senate is alarmed that Nigeria currently spends about $3.3 billion annually on steel imports, and quite saddened that the nation blessed with abundant natural ore resources, yet plagued with moribund Ajaokuta and Delta steel, have become conduit pipes for diversion of public funds at the expense of Nigerian taxpayers. The Senate is worried that there exists an abnormal management structure at the Ajaokuta Steel Complex, whereby a sole administrator has unilaterally decided upon the steel mill's corporate affairs for the past 12 years. This has further worsened the inefficiency of the moribund company with the recently queried 33 billion naira electricity debt by President Tinubu. The Senate accordingly resolves to 1. Set up an ad hoc committee. 2. Investigate the affairs of the Ajaokuta Steel Company and the National Ore Mining Company, NIOMCO, in Kogi State between the year 2008 to date, with a view to conducting a holistic investigation into the circumstances that led to the reconcessioning of NIOMCO, even when the initial concession agreement was validly terminated by the Yar'Adua administration with positive view by the International Chamber of Commerce, London, and investigate the payment of $496 million allegedly made to Mr. Pramod Mittal, chairman of Global Infrastructure Holdings Limited, by the federal government in September 2022. Our settlement over the said contractual dispute, and to report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. The Senate accordingly resolves to invite and interface with the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies and other critical stakeholders in the steel sector, especially those with interest in Ajaokuta Steel Manufacturing Plant and NIOMCO, to obtain relevant information and submit a comprehensive report to the Senate regarding the affairs of the two plants between the years from 2008 till date. Number 2, that's prayer 2. Urge the federal government to review extant policies and laws on steel development in Nigeria with a view to adopt a strategic implementation plan on steel development in Nigeria, bearing in mind the importance of steel to Nigeria's quest for industrialization and economic self-reliance. Prayer 3. Also urge the federal government to dissolve forthwith the sole administratorship of Ajaokuta Steel Company, and as a matter of urgency, constitute a proper management and governing board for the company. This should comprise of, but not be limited to, a managing director, director of projects, director of finance, director of corporate services, with representation from professional bodies such as the Society of Engineers, the Nigerian Metallurgical Society, and representatives from supervising ministries of finance and steel, and of course, the host community. Such a structure will promote good corporate governance, efficiency, and accountability. The federal character and expertise to be respected. I so submit, Mr. President.
Those that were here or know the history of Ajaokuta know that this is not a new thing. In view of her concern and the importance of the subject matter, and the extensive discussion of the motion. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I stand to second the motion, advising also that looking at the importance of the motion and also the prayers, which can be collapsed into one, because she said the first prayer takes care of it all. That is to investigate the affairs of the Ajaokuta and give more time, Mr. Senate President, because 2 weeks is not enough to do a good job on this. So we collapse the prayers and then take the first one, that is to investigate the affairs from the time she stated, and report back to the Senate in 4 weeks. Having made this observation, I second the motion ably moved by distinguished Senator Natasha. Thank you.
Thank you. I suppose we had
this motion to the fore. And the prayer is very simple, that the Ajaokuta steel mill should be investigated. Sir, I'm in total support. I'm in total support because while serving as chairman Senate Committee on Finance in the Ninth Senate, I had the opportunity of inviting these agencies to appear before us. Sir, what we found out, myself and Senator Ajaokuta, is not good at all as far as the state of affairs of this steel mill was then. Sir, as a country, all we do is to pay salaries and wages of staff, supposedly staff of the Ajaokuta steel mill, without producing not even one single iron, and billions of naira in wage bill, year in, year out. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, we cannot continue in that direction. Nigeria needs to know what is the status of Ajaokuta steel mill in terms of money expended over the years on this steel mill. Mr. President, you are all in this country. This steel mill has either been sold or been given a concession. But when this present administration returns, he has to bring it back. And it's very simple. It's to reposition Ajaokuta steel mill and make it functional. The cost of iron rod now, as we speak, is over 1,900 per one. For a country that have such a huge facility that can produce, all we do as we speak is to import iron rod into the country. Sir, I strongly believe this investigative hearing we are about to carry out on this mill will go a long way in giving direction to us as a lawmaker and to Nigeria, to executive, to see which way forward for Ajaokuta steel mill. I'm in support of this investigation. I am interested on the status report, and I so submit that anything that we can do to revive and bring back Ajaokuta steel mill, we should support it. I so submit, Mr. President.
an earlier call on Senator Sani Musa.
Again, my name is Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. My distinguished colleagues, I stand to support this motion wholeheartedly, and also to add to what my senior colleague have said, Senator Adiola, while he was the chairman of the Finance Committee and what he has seen, it has not changed with what we are seeing today. During the MTEM, we raised questions: why will Nigeria be spending in that sector? We're importing in excess of over $4 billion of steel into this country, finished steel. We had steel rolling mills that will have given Nigeria a position of an advanced country. Where were they today? What happened? So if we are talking about Ajaokuta, we must also ask the Bureau for Public Enterprise, are they really doing what they really did what they did to this country with patriotism? Because over and over again, the issue of Ajaokuta, when it comes to concessioning, they will take it over from a fraudulent company to another fraudulent company. Why should it continue like that? There is no patriotism. So this investigation, I believe, will go a long way to unravel so many things. Apart from the importation today that we do, look at all the components of vehicles. There is a touch of steel in it. We are talking of backward integration in this country. We are only saying it, paying lip service to it. So I believe what distinguished Senator Natasha did today, which she has been advocating for this for a very long time, even before she came to the Senate. I think there is no better time for her to get what she desires than for a committee to look at this and unravel the misery of the uncertainties that the steel industry has in this country.
Thank you very much. Now, we'll do it.
In time, at this moment of renewed hope agenda, that the story of Nigeria must be written. I want to say that we are at the crossroads of history.
So I would like you, Matter Leader. You are a team player. You are with us. That's very good. Highly commendable. Continue.
At this time in our history, it is a very sorry situation that we'll continue to talk about Ajaokuta steel rolling mill time and time and time. Mr. President, if you go through that complex, you will weep for this country. And I want to say that the genesis of the problem that we are having today that is leading to protests and here and there is because we have failed to take the opportunity that God has presented to us as Nigerians. There is no reason why that gigantic edifice can be lying waste there. And so I want to think that everybody who is contributing and who is aware of what is on ground there will not ordinarily be talking about the reawakening of our consciousness of that waste. But now that we are talking, we are looking for investigation, and we will start it today. How will that job be done diligently? How will the result come out? And how will the government of the day implement the recommendations and make Ajaokuta steel rolling mill functional again? And Mr. President, as a representative of our people, and as lawmakers, as senators, we owe them a responsibility to make sure that their sensibilities are attended to. And so, don't lose your guard. We will support you. And well-meaning Nigerians certainly will support this move to make sure that Nigeria stands on its feet again. Because that complex alone can sustain a lot of infrastructural development in this country. And so, Mr. President, I thank you for this opportunity, but I want to plead with you that this mill must not leave your consciousness until the end of this 10th Senate, and that before the end of this 10th Senate, Mr. President, that something drastic is done, and that Ajaokuta steel mill comes on board again. That will be your responsibility, that will be your achievement, and that will be the achievement of this Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator representing Plateau Central. I thank you for allowing me make my contribution, particularly on this motion. I have been following this motion for some time, and I thank God I have an opportunity to make my own contribution. My President of the Senate, my colleagues, I spent 2 weeks some time ago when I was doing my postgraduate studies in mining engineering, particularly in the topic metallurgy. We spent 2 weeks in Ajaokuta Steel Complex. Yes, theoretically, we will be saying that Ajaokuta Steel Complex is at 98%. But I want to assure you that with what has been taking place from one engineer, one company to another company to another company, we may end up meeting more damages have been done in that place. It's just like when you have a car and you have electronic problem with your car. You take it to one technician, to another technician, to another technician. Before you know what will happen, damages might have been caused. I truly and sincerely look at this motion as a national motion. It's not a Kogi motion. It's not a motion of a constituency, but it's a Nigerian motion. Because the damage, the monumental loss Nigerians have met, what is worthy for us to take it as an issue. I sincerely believe that we've just as summarized by my senior colleagues, a very thorough investigation, very technical investigation, because we need to admit where we are with that steel complex and see the true level where the complex is and where we can get it right again. It was a great dream, and we all know that no developing country can succeed without steel. Steel is the main source of infrastructure. Steel is the main source of income.
You have 1 second remaining.
Okay. That leadership should be very thorough in coming up with an investigative committee that will...
Thank you very much. You round up for us.
Mr. President, if I raised my hand earlier, that underscored my interest in this motion, which is very timely, which I'm very delighted to align with. There is clearly merit in this motion. I recall that Ajaokuta has become a metaphor for rape and abandonment. Just as has been canvassed by Senator Plank, this is a national issue. I recall that I faced a similar case where I come from. Mr. President, we are all aware of Alscon, the Renox Malta company in Ikorabasi, where I come from. Alscon has also become a metaphor for rape and abandonment. We've been so endowed in this country. Between Alscon and Ajaokuta, so much needs could have been addressed in this country. One recalls, Mr. President, that part of why these behemoths have been exposed to abandonment is the legal quagmire that sometimes have been invoked on them. Alscon has suffered because some elements have invoked law and put that superstructure in manacles. So I think the time has come for Nigeria to ask the right questions. What really happened to Ajaokuta Steel Mill? What happened to Alscon? Both companies could provide lots of jobs to Nigerians. Both could have helped fix our economy, which remains in dire straits. As the chairman of the Senate committee On solid minerals, Mr. President, I am very much aware of our endowments. And truly, Ajaokuta could have played a key role in addressing our needs in this country, just as ASCOM. I would only appeal that we can broaden the inquiry to also look at ASCOM, because that also is a major contributor to our economy. It's not nice, it's not right that both companies lie prostrate, lie in paralysis. So I completely support the spirit in this motion, and indeed, even ask that we can even expand the inquiry to other companies which downline prostrate.
Thank you. And now call on Senator Jibril Issa, the last.
Kogi East. First, I want to commend her. I want to commend Senator Natasha for this motion. I will consider it apt. But you know, going down the memory lane, you are very much part of the 9th Senate. I raised motions on Ajaokuta for the reactivation of Ajaokuta Steel. Yakubu Seni did the same thing. So it is not that we've been passive. Smart ADME was very vehement about the need to reactivate Ajaokuta Steel. I'll say reactivation because it is not true. That's why I want to provide some perspectives. While I agree completely with her on all issues raised here, it is not true that Ajaokuta Iron and Steel never worked for one day. No. It is not equally true that Itakwe Iron Ore did not work for one day. No, they worked for a period. People were employed, products were produced, they were sold, and so the costs are there. But along the line, because of technical issues, problems with technical partnership and financial partnership, the company got derailed and everything crumbled. Now, let me talk about, Your Excellency, the issue of the sole administrator. Even in a democratic setup, as we have today, if there is a major issue in a particular state, the president of the country can appoint a sole administrator. That is the case we have in Ajaokuta. The place had actually crumbled, and they felt, look, instead of leaving this place fallow, let's get somebody, probably from that vicinity. This man we're talking about, the sole administrator, was headhunted from Shell, a renowned engineer. He was headhunted from Shell. So look, take care of the activities of this place until we are able to get back on track. And that is why the money is there. Okay? Now, I want to corroborate with her on the issue of investigation. But whether you like it or not, so much money has been invested there, we have not seen result. That in itself calls for investigation. Like my chairman finance committee said, the 9th Senate, we had problems with them. Okay, we had problems with them. But I also want us to know that Ajaokuta Steel is not completely dormant as it is today. They are working on a very skeletal note. They fabricate all forms of machines. They repair all forms of machines. They bring them from Lagos, from Onitsha for fabrication. So they earn skeletal income. What I will also advise is that, yes, eventually a structure, a new structure, a new management structure has to be in place. Okay, but before that is done, we need to have the roadmap. And until we have that roadmap, the existence of the sole administrator is important. Otherwise, you leave the place fallow, they will vandalize it.
1 second remaining.
Okay, sorry, sir. So until we are able to put this structure in place, and that structure in itself cannot be put in place unless there is funding to activate some of the lines. Okay, but while we are doing that, the relevance of the sale of the sole administrator, to me, is that they're going to leave the place vacant.
Thank you very much. Senator Asukwekwen, you have the floor.
Asukwekwen, Senator representing Cross River South. I rise to support this motion that has been very well articulated and eloquently read by my colleague, distinguished Senator Natasha. It's very timely. Just to add, in the area of the sole administrator, it is often said that absolute power corrupts absolutely. In a scenario where you have a sole administrator, over a period of 12 years, as I have come to understand, even if it's in the financial institutions or the formal sectors, there are regulatory agencies that put time limits for which they serve as chief executive. Even when you come to the public sector, in the executive, whether it's the president of the Federal Republic or state governors, they are time-bound for a period of 8 years. If a sole administrator has been there for a period of 12 years, I think he has provided the services required. It is time, if there is no possibility of restructuring the board to have an MD, an ED, etc., because of the operations and limited operations of the institution, then it is time to change the sole administrator.
Thank you for your very eloquent contribution. And within
Sarkin Yakin Kefi, I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District of Nasarawa State. While I congratulate my sister for this all-important motion, I align myself fully. And as far as the issue at stake is concerned, I don't want to dwell on the nomenclature of the management of Ajaokuta at the moment, whether it is sole administrator, MD, whatever the nomenclature is. I think it's not what is key, what is much more important about the issue of Ajaokuta, particularly with the prevailing economic situation in Nigeria today. Like I have always said, for Nigeria to realize its full potentials, the manufacturing sector of Nigeria, that is the real sector, must be active and fully productive. And if you talk about manufacturing sector today in Nigeria or in today's world, of course, Ajaokuta cannot be wished away because it is all-encompassing value-added vehicle. If Ajaokuta were to be, or if Ajaokuta is fully operational, like our distinguished colleague said, Aluminium Smelting Company of Nigeria will be active, associated mining ores will be active, our steel rolling mills, we had Katsina, we had Jos, and two other ones, will all be active. You can imagine if all these vehicles are fully in place, operational, the employment it will generate, and of course the value.
You have 1 second remaining, Senator Wadada.
That will create. With Ajaokuta fully in place, Nigeria will go places. Most of these issues, because like the crisis of Naira against the dollar today, with an up-running vehicle like Ajaokuta, dollars will be flowing into Nigeria because we will be an exporter nation.
Thank you for your eloquent contribution. Senator Emmanuel Ondo North, particularly from Ikare, you have the floor. Sorry, we have two Emmanuels that want to...
The question is, what will happen to this investigation? And so my fear is nonchalant attitude of government implementing our resolutions. So I urge the leadership to follow up on these resolutions whenever they are made. Otherwise, it will go the same way the 2018 investigation has gone. So my prayer is that let there be an investigation and a follow-up on this resolution.
Thank you very much. I think we should go to the prayers. An ad hoc committee to investigate the affairs of Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited and the National Ore Mining Company in Kogi State between 2008 to date, with a view to conducting a holistic investigation into the circumstances that led to the reconstruction of to the ore mining company. Even when the initial concession agreement was validly terminated by Yar'Adua administration with positive review by International Chambers of Commerce, London, and investigate the payment of $496 million allegedly made to Mr. Pramod Mittal, Chairman, Global Infrastructure Holdings Limited, GINL, by the federal government in September 2022 as settlement over said contractual disputes, and to report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Invite and interface with relevant ministries, departments, and agencies, and other critical stakeholders in the steel sector, especially those with interest in Ajaokuta steel manufacturing plant and the ore mining company, to obtain relevant information and submit a comprehensive report to the Senate regarding the affairs of the two plants between 2018 to date. And two, urge the federal government to review extant policies and laws on steel development in Nigeria with a view to adopting a strategic implementation plan on steel development in Nigeria, bearing in mind the importance of steel to Nigeria's quest for industrialization and economic self-reliance. Three, also, I should have moved for, so that we can do all at the same time? No, that is wrong. That is wrong. Well, the prayer one as read, those in favor of that prayer say aye. Those, okay, amendment.
Given the volume of arguments that we are raising now, I think it will be
You moved, eh? Seconder. Senator Adiola.
Mr. President, a very distinguished colleague, I rise to second the motion as moved by the minority leader.
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer to, another amendment? Okay, is it a typographical error? Secretary, please take note. Take note. No problem, it's okay. Secretary will take note. Prayer 2, as read. Those in favor of the prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, it has not been read. Let me read it. Also, urge the federal government to dissolve forthwith the sole administratorship of Ajaokuta Steel Company, and as a matter of urgency, constitute a proper management and governing board for the company. These should comprise, but not limited to, a managing director, director of projects, director of finance, director of corporate services, with representatives from professional bodies such as Society of Engineers, Nigerian Meteorological Society, and representatives from supervising ministries of finance and steel, and of course, host community. Such a structure will promote good corporate governance, efficiency, and accountability. Federal character and expertise to be respected. Those in favor of the amendment? The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first two lines of prayer 3 actually